Hi, I'm Jan Roberts from Key Leadership Institute in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I'm a leadership consultant, professional speaker, executive coach, and values-based leadership specialist, helping people just like you to grow spiritually, mentally, physically, as well as emotionally. And if you are actually ready to stop going through life and actually start growing through life, then you're in the right place. And today we're diving in yet another value, and this is going to be the value of inclusivity. So before we do that, make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another episode of on intentional living, self-leadership, values-based leadership, and purposeful growth. So let's get into it. But before I do that, I also want to say why I talk into values, because my wife and I are both internationally values-based leadership specialists, trained by this global priorities. And in that process, we have worked with transformation of communities, of an entire countries even, and we have 48 values available. Now, when we train and certify facilitators, we're in the rooms and sometimes I get questions from people, do you have a value on this and on that? And yes, some of them we have, but some of them we didn't. So I decided, my wife actually wrote the value of compassion. That's a story all by itself because she's also writing a book, The Compassionate Leader of Influence, and she's one of the foremost diversity, equity, and inclusion specialists in the world as well. But I actually decided to start writing some of these values, and I've now written 22 of them, and this is number 8 in this series. That gives you a little bit of background of these values, but they're important. And diversity is having a seat at the table, inclusion is having a voice, and belonging is having that voice heard. And that's by a quote by Liz Foslian. Inclusivity is the act of creating an environment where everyone feels welcomed, valued, and respected, regardless of their backgrounds, their belief, their race, their identity. The value of inclusivity in our life, business, and social environment is significant and does cover many areas. Inclusivity is essential for creating a more equitable, compassionate, and productive society. See, whether in our personal or professional lives, it is important to prioritize inclusivity and work towards creating a more welcoming and accepting environment for all people. And that is so important, people, because even more so in the last, dare I say, 5, 6 years, the media, the politicians, and many other people have done their very best to drive a wedge between us, to divide us more and more. It's a bit about divide and conquer. And we must do our very best to do the opposite, to become more inclusive. But we need to start understanding that, because being an inclusive person can lead to a much more fulfilling and enriched life. See, becoming more inclusive does require a commitment to ongoing learning and growth, as well as a willingness to challenge our own biases. And we've all got them, of course. But what does it actually mean, being inclusive? See, an inclusive person is someone who strives to create a welcoming and accepting environment for everyone, regardless of their differences. See, they value diversity and work towards building a more equitable and compassionate society. Inclusive environments encourage diversity of perspectives, which can certainly lead to a much better decision making, creativity, as well as innovation. See, when people from different backgrounds and experiences come together, they can share their unique insights and ideas, resulting in more well-rounded solutions and outcomes. By listening to and learning from others, we can develop a deeper appreciation of their experiences and challenges of people from different backgrounds. This can help build stronger relationships and develop a more harmonious community. It's something that we really need to work towards, people. See, inclusivity can also have a positive impact on mental health, because when people feel accepted and valued, they are much less likely to experience feelings of isolation, anxiety, depression. This can help create a more positive and supportive environment for everyone. See, I think that was really prominent in especially 2020, 21 with the lockdowns. We really realized that the human touch, regardless of everything that's happening with AI and everything, human touch will and is always going to be the main thing that connects us. We need to stay connected with ourselves, but we also need to connect with our fellow human beings. And that takes a fair bit of understanding. So what are some of the main characteristics of a person who is inclusive? Well, first of all, it's a bit like a parachute. It needs to be open. You got to be open-minded. An inclusive person is open-minded and willing to learn from others, even if I would say, especially if their views or experiences are different from our own. Now, people who know me know that I'm also very outspoken and I speak my truth. And that doesn't mean that I'm always right. Of course I'm not. But when I speak my truth, we have the ability and we should be able to discuss this. But it takes an open-mindedness and it takes a lot more, people, because believe me, name calling and all those other kind of things doesn't do anything to anybody. So we also need to have empathy. An inclusive person is empathetic and able to put themselves in other shoes. And I'm saying trying to understand their perspectives and experiences. People talk about empathy and they say, well, you will not be able to understand somebody else when you've walked in their shoes for 1,000 miles. So that's why I say we can never really understand because we don't know what's going on, but we at least can try to understand. We also need respect. An inclusive person is respectful towards others, regardless of their background, beliefs, and identity. Now, this is also very interesting because we do have the value of respect as well. And people always say, well, but I mean, these people don't respect me. And now my question is, do you respect them? Yeah, but hold on a minute here. You can't give what you haven't got. And, in this whole values-based leadership, we have a quote, transformation begins with me, begins in me. So that means that we can't expect other people to respect us if we don't respect them. So it needs to come from us. But there's another question on respect. Do you actually respect yourself? Because as I said, you can't give what you haven't got. So that's a very interesting subject. And my wife, in her truly transformational team building trainings in the training room, has always got two quotes, which are brilliant. The first one is the very simple, at the level of respect, everyone is equal. And in her 28 years in the training rooms, that has been really a soundboard for the next quote, where it says, the good thing is, you don't need to like everybody you come into contact with. And that is, people start smiling then and they say, but she says there is a however. However, the way you show respect and are respectful to the person in front of you is a direct reflection on your character, not theirs. I hope that hits home with these two quotes when you put them together. So carrying on to the next one is we need to be non-judgmental. See, an inclusive person is non-judgmental and avoids making assumptions or stereotypes based on someone's appearance or identity. As I said, this is what's brilliant about these round tables that we do and the trainings we do, because there is no judgment at the table. It doesn't matter where you come from. You all can have a seat at the table and we all talk about ourselves. With these values, we go through one value a week. This creates sustainability as well. But we talk about ourselves. So now everybody gets to learn about me when I talk about myself, and I get to learn about other people. And that is absolutely brilliant, people, because we are so sensitive these days that if we say something that somebody else doesn't like, it's either going to be name calling or it's rejecting outright. We have not got the patience and understanding anymore to actually connect with other human beings, especially those who are different from us. I hope that makes sense. So another thing we need to do is we need to use inclusive language, because an inclusive person uses inclusive language, avoiding words or phrases that be considered offensive or exclusionary. And I always say, be careful what you say, because once it's out there, you cannot take it back. And the tongue is a very dangerous and lethal weapon sometimes. And of course, for all of this to happen, is the final one is you need to be an active listener. An inclusive person actively listens to others, seeking to understand their perspectives and experiences without interrupting or dismissing them. As you will have heard before, the late Stephen Covey said, "Try to understand before being understood." And as you know me, I say, about leadership as well. We're all leaders, and leadership begins with self-leadership. But as leaders, we learn so much more when we listen rather than when we talk. And that is obvious, of course. So when you are an inclusive person, it has many benefits, and I'm going to give you a few of them. You have increased empathy and understanding because by actively seeking to understand others and valuing diversity, you can develop a deeper sense of empathy and understanding towards people from different backgrounds and experiences. You have you build improved relationships because when you create an inclusive environment, people are much more likely to feel accepted and valued, leading to stronger relationships and a sense of community. And if you know me by now, leadership has got many fancy names, but it's all about building relationship because if you can't build relationship, you'll never be able to lead groups of people. It's very simple. So it's very important in inclusivity. Then you will have an expanded worldview. See, by embracing diversity and seeking out different perspectives, you can expand your worldview and gain a deeper understanding of the world around you. And that is also very important because the world is getting smaller and smaller. People travel all over the place, and sometimes we are a bit judgmental, and most of the time it is because of some of the things that we heard from other people, some of the things that we see in the news, which is people. I don't listen to the news anymore because of a variety of reasons. But the thing is, we gain pictures that usually don't tell the at least the real story. As if you hear some stuff, also try to look at the other material. What else is out there? Maybe even 180-degree different from what you hear, and that is very important because we can expand that worldview only by our curiosity and our willingness to understand, our willingness to learn. Then another one is you will have increased creativity and innovation because inclusive environments encourage diversity of perspectives, leading to a more creative and innovative solution to problems. And finally, you achieve greater personal growth. Because being an inclusive person can lead to a greater personal growth as you challenge your own biases and assumptions and learn from others. So, as you know, I always give some steps on how you can become better in this particular value. So, how can we become more inclusive? That's the final part. The first one is educate yourself. Learn about different cultures, about different religions, about different identities and experiences. Read books, watch documentaries, attend workshops to gain deeper understanding of the world around you. And I said, I always see that with my wife's transformational team building workshop because there people from all kinds of backgrounds come together, especially here in South Africa. And we see the change happening during the day because people finally understand that we're not so different. There was a book by a guy called Macpherson. I can't remember his first name at the moment, but he wrote a book about the third option. And he said sometimes we are like this with each other because we're fighting about things that we disagree with. Now, if you disagree with people, especially if you don't really know them that well yet, then at least start talking about something else altogether. So you can first get to know each other. And when you start to understand each other and start to listen to each other, then maybe you can discuss a point that you don't agree on. Maybe that makes sense to you as well. The second one is challenge your assumptions. So reflect on your own biases and assumptions and challenge them. Be open to learning from others and be willing to admit when you're wrong. As I said, I've said this a long time. I hope in some of the things that I talk about that I am wrong and I wish I was wrong. Some of these things have been proven to be right, but I say I would have no problem to apologize publicly because when I speak about these things, I did a lot of Facebook lives and things like that. I will apologize because I'm human too, and we all make mistakes. But that's why it's necessary to come to the next point where it says listen actively. See, listen to others without interrupting or dismissing them. Seek to understand their perspectives and experiences, or as the late Stephen Covey said, as I mentioned already, try to understand before being understood. It is so important, people, because As soon as we don't agree with somebody, it's so easy to interrupt everybody, to shout over the top, and people think that shouting or talking louder gives them a better point, but that's actually quite the opposite, of course. So the thing is, through coaching, I started coaching training in 2009. I was always, since I was 17-year-old, I've been in personal development, and that really speaks to me. I traveled in the oil industry, and my suitcase was always a bookcase. But when I came into coaching, and the reason I did was I saw an advert where people said, do you want to know how you can listen better and ask better questions? I thought, personal development freak. I took that as a compliment when people called me that, because I always had books lying on the table. But that's a story for another day. But that was coaching. And when I actually started coaching training, I did 2 years of coaching training, 3 courses there, and then I did another 2 courses since in the Maxwell leadership team. But the thing is, I finally realized I'd been coaching for years, for even decades, because that's how I used to train people. I wanted to know what their thinking was. So it was an enlightening thing, but being present. Active listening is about being present, not when your phone goes. I used to really dislike that, especially when the first phones came out. I can't remember, the Blackberries, yeah. And they had these beeps when a message came. So people were talking to me, and then all of a sudden beep, and they grabbed their phone and they wanted to go on the phone. So I started walking away. I said, okay, if your phone is more important at the moment, go and take care of it. And when you're ready, no, I don't mean that. Yes, you do mean that. I had a wonderful person. He's now passed away. He used to talk to you, and even if everybody knew him. But even when people, it was in the network marketing industry in the 90s, even when people said hello to him, he would just focus on what you were saying. And afterwards, he would go to the other person. And when I started to understand that he was just fully present, he could see that is happening. And some people thought he was ignorant, not saying hello back, because that's what we do. We go, all of a sudden go, oh, hello, hello. And no, there's a person talking to you. So it is so important, people. Then also use inclusive language. Avoid using language that could be considered offensive or exclusionary. Use language that is inclusive and respectful of all individuals. Now, for that to happen, you need to learn about all those kind of things. So all of these kind of steps come together, and I hope it still makes sense. And create an inclusive environment. See, take steps to create an inclusive environment, such as advocating for diversity and inclusion, like my wife does all the time, challenging discriminatory behavior, and promoting equal opportunities for all. That means speaking up as well when you hear these kind of discrimination behavior, the bullying, the negative behavior towards others, because when we remain silent, evil prevails when good men and women do nothing. And when we remain silent, we become part of the problem rather than part of the solution. So have the courage and the conviction that when you hear these kind of things, that you also start speaking up. You don't have to shout at people, but just politely say, hey, that's disrespectful. I don't like that. I wish you would apologize to the person, but certainly don't do that in front of me. I hope you don't do it at all. But it takes a bit of courage. I get that, because people are so scared that people call them names and they ridicule them and all this kind of stuff. People, you can't make a difference. One person does make a difference, and that person is the one looking in the mirror every day. So before I go offline again, the last one is develop diverse relationships. It makes sense. Develop relationships with people from different backgrounds and experiences. Seek out diverse perspectives and actively engage with them. See, there is many, whether it's religion or creed or race or background or environment or age or gender, try to understand, but you need to get to know about these kind of things, because there is not one solution sometimes, and if we want to become more inclusive, I think the roundtable process through values-based leadership is a brilliant way to do it, because we start to connect with people at the heart level rather than just the head level, and that's where we need to go, people. If we want to become inclusive, we need to meet people at the heart level. I hope that all makes a bit of sense, and I hope that you will actively engage with this as well, and even in write comments. But I really want to thank you for watching, and if you found value in this videos, actually give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more content to help you grow through life. And of course, hit the bell so you never miss another episode either. But I'm really interested in hearing your thought. What stood out most for you in this value of inclusivity? drop a comment below and let's start having a conversation. And if you are serious about living a life of a purpose and becoming a better leader, check out the links in the description for resources, coaching, and ways to connect. Because remember, you have a choice. So choose to lead with purpose, live with intention, and never, ever, ever stop growing. So until the next time, keep showing up for your best life because you matter. Take care.